Eating disorders, including anorexia and binge purge behaviour, bulimia, may also be associated with child sexual abuse and neglect. So there's some associations, not all the time. There's some links there. Sexual abuse has been widely linked to eating disorders in children, and adolescents, however, experiencing other maltreatment types or multiple forms of abuse and neglect have also shown to increase the risk of developing an eating disorder. And again, I'm not an expert on eating disorders by any imagination, but I get a sense that it's got a lot to do with image. If I look this particular way, then maybe it will stop and all that sort of stuff. The psychological effects of child abuse and neglect may lead to alcohol and drug abuse problems in adolescence and adulthood. So if you've got a young person who's just on the go all the time and just speeding or using a whole lot of cannabis or binge drinking quite a lot every weekend or every day, there's a chance there that there's some damage done prior, and they're using this methodology to try and mask a lot of pain they're going through. And so maybe it's more about, for us, when they do talk to us about their drug use, maybe it's about dealing with drug use and make sure when we do that we create a place that, one, that we adhere to the ethics of confidentiality, that we stay strictly to that process, and secondly, that they understand that process and how safe and secure that process can be, often with limits. We know there's limits to that, and they need to know the limits to that as well. And I think open transparency creates a sense of, process of trust. We're being open and honest with you. That's role modeling design behavior. Look, this is what we do in relationships. We display this level of trust. So maybe then it's about you reciprocating in a way, not necessarily straight away, but maybe over a period of time, a journey of long, if you've got the capacity to do this, over a long period of time, maybe that journey of trust can be developed. Then we can start dealing with the deeper stuff. Yeah. I'm just so used to a live audience, like lecturing in front of people, not necessarily the computer, but hopefully I'm getting across okay.
You're right, they're all taking attention, I can see.
Good to know. Evidence suggests that all types of child maltreatment are significantly related to high levels of substance use, tobacco, alcohol, and illicit drugs. In a surveying public school students grades 6, 9, and 12 in the United States, Harrison and colleagues found that experience of physical or sexual abuse increased the likelihood of students using alcohol, marijuana, and other drugs. And for me, that's a bit of a duh moment, but that's a given, I think. I mean, if I experience some strong emotional pain or some difficult moment, or stressful day, I go and get a beer, and I just drink a beer and that feels good. It makes me forget what I've gone through the day. These kids carry that 24/7, so it makes sense to me that they'll go and, go and do a couple of bongs and buy an ounce of weed and smoke it over a weekend, or, go and get a bottle of bourbon and drink it in a matter of an hour or so, just to completely wipe themselves out. Because that pain would be like incredibly difficult, and I think it's really hard to describe what they're carrying because it's so unique and it's such an individual thing. So where was I? A further study in the United States found that 28% of physical abused adolescents use drugs, compared to 14% of non-abused adolescents, compared to 22% of the non-abused group. 36% of physically abused adolescents also had high levels of alcohol use. So that takes into consideration cultural norms, like we're a drinking society, so it takes, in America, it's also a drinking society. So we've got to take that, if parents drink at home, then there's likelihood that the kid's going to drink at home because we're teaching that it's okay to do so. So there's all that normal stuff. So they're the normal parameters, and I guess these sit outside of the normal parameters that these kids will go to the extreme to deal with what they need to deal with. A further study in the United States found that 28% of physically abused adolescents used drugs compared to 14% non-abused adolescents. And I know they're United States stats, but they just give us an awareness that 28%, I mean, population of America is in the hundreds of millions, so that's quite a significant number. So, we've got about 22 million in Australia, and so it's just about doing that comparative study and about, okay, so maybe it's about 8% or 10% of young people that are like this, perhaps. So, just keep that in mind. Compared to 22% of the non-abused group, 36% of physically abused adolescents also had high levels of alcohol use. I think that's a double